the front lines of retail automotive. This is the Hooks Playbook. Welcome to Changing Lanes with Kip Hooks.
Welcome back to Changing Lanes. Today's episode is all about something that gets talked about a lot in the industry, but it isn't always easy to define or deliver on. And that's how you actually do business the right way, do the car business the right way. At Hooks, the focus has always been on more than just selling vehicles. It's about building relationships, earning trust, and creating experiences that bring customers back again and again. Joining me as always is Kip Hooks, who's helped lead the business with a clear philosophy around treating people with respect, doing what's right, and thinking long-term. In this conversation, we're going to break down what really looks like in practice. From the first interaction with the customer to how those relationships are maintained over time. Kip, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm great, Sean. It's good to see you, bud. How's everything?
It's good. Just moving forward, always forward, no matter what's going on.
Forward.
Always forward.
Agreed.
And you're an inspirational leader like that. So I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know for yourself and for your team. So are you ready to get into it today?
Absolutely, bud. Let's get it done.
Okay. So there's a goal for you, the Hooks goal. I want to know, what is it when it comes down to doing business, and how would you define the Hooks goal in your own words?
There's all these maxims, these things I say all the time, but one of them that just comes to mind when you say that is that our belief that the customer experience will drive our longevity. The customer experience will drive our viability. You can't get to week 3 until you get through week 2, and you can't get to week 2 till you get through week 1. So what do we do right today? And the things that we can control today. And that's how we treat our clients, our guests, the people that come in here who trust us to consider a car, to buy a car, to service a car, whatever it is. If they're coming here, we need to fulfill their needs. And, it starts by listening and addressing the concerns that exist. So we build relationships by, just being human and being grateful and acting with grace and integrity, but just be human. It's, you can make anything overly complicated. You can do things that just make things difficult, that are unnecessary. And typically that's for your own self-preservation, ego, to be real honest. But if you just keep it simple and focus on what's at hand, then I think that's what drives, that'll drive the customer experience, because you address their concerns, their needs, their questions, and help them with what they want to be. If we're service oriented, then I believe that that's what will drive the rest of it. You can't put it in a box and say that this, you say these things and do these things. You have to have a culture. You have to have a team. You have to have a mentality within the organization that everybody is pushing in that direction, that everybody has that in mind and acts within those somewhat established guidelines. There are clearly established goals, visions, and those guidelines, that comes down to character. That comes down to having the right people on staff, and people in process make everything. So when we do those things, I think that's kind of in a nutshell. That's a pretty broad answer, but in a nutshell, to keep from talking all day, I think that kind of is how I would answer that question, to be honest.
Yeah, I like that answer. I mean, you said, I don't want to bury the lead. There are a lot of dealerships that are looking at the outcome before they think about what they can control right now. And for you guys to have this goal of control what you can right now, but make sure that you start at the beginning with the beginning in mind, because you got to win there before you're going to get what you want. And then, of course, that's wrapped in all of these attributes about how Hooks has done business for decades, generations. Yeah. How does the way that when you contrast the way that you go about achieving that goal and the other goals of operation, how do you see that differing from what a lot of other dealerships do today?
Well, it's hard to say specifically what other dealerships do. Of course, we meet, we talk, we hear from other people, and we know some of the things that other dealerships do. But, and I can only speak for me because it's not fair for me to lay a generalization across an industry any more than I would want someone else to do it, because I try to be different. And there's some great dealers out there, and I'm sure there's dealers who could get better. Personally, we're always trying to get better, no matter how good we are. I had this, it's crazy. When I was in college, I had this perpetual improvement kind of thought that just I thought it came to me. Well, it didn't, obviously, but it was like, no matter what we're doing, we can always do something better. So that's the goal there. But if you compare us to others, we want to be more human. We want to make it about the client. I'm not trying to force a client to do anything. I say, we're not a need dealership. We're a want dealership. People come here because they want what we have. They want to do business with us. They like who we are. They don't need anything. They don't come here because they need something. So we're grateful. We're grateful for the opportunity to take care of any customer. So when I say that, to say that we don't put our needs ahead of the customer needs. The best interest of Hooks Lincoln is very much about what's best for our client, because we need that client to be happy, to have a great experience, and to come back and to be the best story in the room. If people start talking about their experience with their car dealership, we want them to say, "Oh, that was bad. You should go try Hooks." Not that I want anyone to have a bad experience, but I want the opportunity to treat them different. And so, we don't package things. We don't force things. We don't mark things. We don't put things on unnecessary ads or do things. We try to make things real. And I mean, honestly, I think about myself, like, would I do that? Like, how would I react if that was presented to me? How would I react if that's the way you took care of my service? And to be completely honest with you, there's times where I talk to a customer and they're like, "Well, I did this." I'm like, "I wouldn't have done that if we didn't do this." I mean, I appreciate that, because personally, I might not have even done that. So I appreciate the call, and I appreciate your consideration and the opportunity to make it better. So not that we screw up all the time, but nobody's perfect. We're always trying to do better.
I love that you don't have this assumption of the business. All the things that you're talking about is what you have to do to earn that business. And so much of it is relative to the treatment of the customer, of building that relationship.
That's the key word there, is earn. We earn the opportunity. We earn their business. We earn the opportunity to take care of them in service and do a good job in service to hopefully earn the opportunity for them to buy another car and develop those relationships. You don't develop relationships by being self-centered, egotistical, or abusive. I use that word abusive a little loosely, but speaking from a manner of, you can't make it all about you. There has to be a balance, so that's why that standard that we lay across everything is best interest of Hooks Lincoln. And we have BIHL on the walls around here in places. So it's just what kind of drives us, should we do this? Is it the best interest? Does it make the customer happy? And does it take care of the store in a way? Because we want to be here to take care of them next time, and I want to be sure that I take care of my family, and I want to have the opportunity as the third generation, for the fourth generation to take it over, and so forth. So there's that's a load, because we want to do it right. We have to do it right, or we're not going to get that opportunity.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about the earning. That's a really a significant part of business, but of life, that I think a lot of people miss out on. And I think it's also one of the attributes of why Hooks has been as successful as you've been for so long. When you think about that process of earning just one deal, somebody comes in, you're earning that one deal. What's that kind of look like to you, like the day-to-day interaction with a customer?
Well, there's a value to everything, right? It's not about price and cost and all that stuff, there's a value. And the value of this, we build value in our product by presenting and explaining the product and knowing what that's all about. But more importantly, we build value in doing business with us and build value in us by taking care of people. And by building that value, you earn those opportunities. So, in any given situation, if there's a breakdown, typically there's a miscommunication. So I would say, to answer that question, the best would be communication is where it starts. Actually, that would be, if I could maybe put something just above that, it would be active and accurate listening, because we have to listen before we can communicate. We can't say things. Can't just walk up to somebody and start spitting out facts. Nobody cares. I mean, you got to listen first, right? Well, that's a very far degree of that. But in reality, just listen. If you can listen, then you know what is going on. And generally people in any situation will tell you what's on their mind, what their questions are, what they want, and those that listen get the opportunity to help, I think.
It's kind of that saying of people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I mean, it's so true.
It is.
Probably now more so than ever in the kind of economy that people have and that we live in, this instant gratification world. Yeah. What are some of the habits or standards that you just refuse to compromise on, even if they might cost you something? What are some of those things?
Integrity, my heritage, my character, those things, and I want those things are laid on the store, but they're also carried within me. So I'm the last line. So everything that's done here is a reflection of me. And so I want those things done with honesty, to be human, to be human and to care, those things, the character and honesty and grace and integrity, those things I will not compromise on no matter what. Now, there's crazy times we could go back and have stories about when a customer may expect something that's not rational. And those are tougher conversations sometimes, because you just can't give things, that aren't due, but you want to take care of that. But when somebody's had a less than stellar experience, you want to do what you can to make sure you correct those ways and make sure they're happy. And it's not about what you can do for them next time, because you may not get a next time if you don't make it right the first time. So go back and look at, what do we need to do to make it right now? What can I resolve to have an opportunity the next time? I'm always stunned at these places that, you go and not necessarily just car business, but you have this bad experience and have the dignity to tell somebody about it. Right. And then instead of trying to make that situation right, they tell you that next time you come in, we'll do this for you. Well, that's not really about me as a customer. That's more about you trying to get me back. And how am I know you're going to remember that or do that? So make this situation right. And so, and I think that kind of falls under character and your commitment and doing what's right. So doing the right thing, all these things fall under that. They're in the same category. And I'm not going to compromise on those.
I think that is a perfect segue into what I want to ask you next, which is when, customers, they can push. Sometimes they push, beyond what maybe is fair. And so the next thing I want to ask you is, when those situations happen, how do you handle when that customer is expecting more than what's really fair? And maybe, does earning it mean that you're always saying yes?
No, it does not. And I have had conversations in different forums about how, I believe that saying no is not just okay, but it adds to the process, because if you're building a relationship, do you only have relationships with yes people that only tell you yes, that just lay down and do what you ask? Because in my opinion, you normally don't have a lot of respect for those people. So a mutual respect is a requirement to build a relationship.
Yeah.
So to have that mutual respect, sometimes the word no comes into play. There's been times when we've had to say no and watch the customer drive away. I also have great stories about when that's happened. And then a little bit later, they drive right back up and say, you know what? I want to do business here because you said what you were going to do and you stuck to it. And your integrity means something. And that's happened. And those are stories that you want to write down and just like want to tell everybody that's here. Like, look, it's okay if you do it the right way, but this is because it's not just give things away. That's not what people want, because you do that and there's, in a lot of situations, they're still not happy, because then they think, well, they were saying yes to everything. So what else could I have asked for? But you have to build the value, and there's a meeting point there, but it can't be too far out of whack one way or the other. So there are times when we have to say no, and there are times when it's good to say no. And there are times when, that doesn't mean we're doing the wrong thing. It doesn't mean that we're taking advantage of someone, or we're not flexible. We're not, listening. We are trying to do the right thing. And it's just that sometimes the right thing means that we have to go this way instead of that way. But even though you want to go that way, I need to go this way, we can still come back and meet and come to a compromise that works for everybody, and there's still value. And ultimately, we want you leaving here the happiest. Mm-hmm. So I want you happy when you get here, but I want you happier when you leave.
Yeah. Oftentimes saying no, I think, is what opens the door for people to see how much you're earning the relationship and earning the opportunity to do business. Yeah. If you say yes all the time, you're not going to have those opportunities for people to see what especially matters to you, which is this human experience.
Exactly.
And I think that makes a lot of sense.
And it takes, and that's not something you can script out for somebody. That's not something, that's something that you have to have experience. You have to have the character. You have to buy into the culture. You have to, that takes a while to build that in someone. You can't just plop somebody in here to start, not train them and expect them to be able to do that, because they can't, no matter who they were. If you plop me into another industry, I think I'm educated and whatever, but I would struggle if you put me in a bad position. And I don't want to put one of our team members in a bad position or in a losing proposition, because if that's the case, then we're going to lose and the customer's going to lose. And that's unacceptable. So we want to be sure that everybody is buying into the culture, that's buying into the way we do things, that we communicate all the time, not necessarily in meetings, but in just talking and just networking, just standing around, just hearing this and overhearing others and how we talk to people. It's about them. And so I would love for more people to hear me talk to people sometimes. And not that I have all the answers, but they could learn from what I'm doing, just like I listen and learn from what they're doing. And if it's a coaching opportunity, I go talk to them. If it's a situation I need to jump into, I jump right into it. Yeah. So, but I don't want to take things away from somebody, because I want them to get there, and it takes the time. If somebody, it's like a baby. If you carry a baby forever, they're never going to learn and walk on their own. So let them walk, and then guide them and support them and brace them up and help the situation. And I think that means a lot to everybody involved.
Yeah. It's that experience that makes such a huge difference. That's another good segue around like culture. Like, how do you build your team so that everyone, not just you in leadership, but everyone feels responsible for earning that trust from the customer.
Best interest of Hooks Lincoln is an umbrella, and committing to that, committing to those things, and not compromising on that, not compromising on the character, not saying that, hey, let's tell them something different just so we can do this. Well, no, don't do that. I mean, I tell service, call your work in process every day, no matter what. Well, what if we didn't do anything to it? Well, tell them the truth. You know how many customers have told me that they'd rather just know the truth and just, if you just communicate with them, even though it might not be what they want to hear, they're okay with that. Sometimes that's post fact where, something had happened there. Okay, they just told me, but in most all times, that's real. So if you just communicate and commit to doing the right thing every time, if it's hard, I think you can get through it. If I don't think you can get through it, I will help you through it. If I need to take over for you, I will. And that mentality that leadership has, well, then you've got other people that are, at varying degrees of experience in the store. And somebody who's here might listen to somebody who's here, not necessarily the manager or leadership, but listen to somebody who's had a little more experience and think, hey, that's a good way of doing it. I can do that. Or if I talk to this person, oh, what about that other situation? If I might have done it that way, then they see that the commitment to not compromising on our ideals, on those things that matter the most, then they see that, I can't compromise. I can't do this. So I got to figure out a way to do it. And then the ultimate reward, that fulfillment, is when the customer is like, thank you so much, or whatever. And they're like, whew, I thought that was going to be hard. And the customer said, thank you. Well, then that person is bought in. Then that person is like, I'm not trying to find an easy way out. It's just not always easy. There's a lot of stuff that's hard about this business, and you got to be graceful. You got to be grateful, and you got to be honest. And I believe that's the way that's the way we succeed. And that's how you start building culture, is stating what your foundations are, what your beliefs, your visions, those things. These are what we believe in, and then stick to them and show people how this will help you be successful in this business, fulfilled. And then hopefully some of these things I would love for them, if I can help, if what we do here helps someone be better off in their life, fulfillment, success, whatever, then that's a huge, huge win. And this is our family. Our team is our family. We spend so much time together, and we tackle hard stuff together, and we do things together. And the decisions I make are best interest of Hooks Lincoln. And underneath that umbrella falls the benefit, how these people, everybody here, takes care of their families and puts food on their table and achieves their dreams. So if that's part of my responsibility, and they see my commitment to that, and I'm not compromising, I think that trickles down. And I think that it shows. And you know what else we do? We'll call each other. We'll call each other on it if it happens. If we see somebody go, oh, maybe I need to do this. No, don't do that. Do the right thing, man. You know what we need to do. Go do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that helps.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's an awesome answer. When you are thinking about training and coaching your team on what it means to earn a customer's business, have you found that, like, telling them this is the way or showing them, is there a difference? Do you have a preference? Like, what's more impactful? I think I know, but I'm just curious to know your thoughts on, is it more of like telling people like, hey, this is what I want you to do as you're training and coaching, or is it more so in like showing them exactly how to lead and what you're reinforcing?
It's kind of a combination of the two, if I could, because you've got tell and you've got show, but then if we can lead them and they got to know what we're talking about first, right? So what we're talking about is the commitment to X. And we're going to talk about this. And then now, if you could do these things, how would you do it? How would you go about that? How would you handle this situation? And then, okay, now what if we did it this way? So tell them, let them do it, show them, and then hopefully they can take a piece of all of that and have their own approach to it, because they can't talk like I talk. They can't speak my words. They can't speak anybody else's words. They're your words. These are my words. These aren't anybody else's words. These are what my thoughts are, the way I think, the way I speak. And I can't do it the way someone else does any more than anyone can do it the way I do. So it needs to be their own words, their own way, because that's the way it's natural and human. So we get back to the human piece of it. So if we're trying to get, and not only that, but in our lane, the name of this show is Changing Lanes. That's based on changing lanes, going the same direction, getting to the same destination in different manners. In our own behavior, when we get outside of the lane that is our personality, then we're not nearly as effective as we are in our lane being who we are. So when we can find a way to carry these foundational beliefs into the way you're doing things to achieve a mutual goal that is in the best interest of Hooks Lincoln, which includes the best interest of the client, right? And our customer satisfaction in making sure that we're taking care of the store and protecting, I guess you could say, the heritage and the viability, then we're all winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And on top of that, the cherry on top of that is that individual gets a sense of fulfillment of coming to the right answer, a best answer, a great answer, a way for them to do that on their own and have that sense of fulfillment.
I love that. You're leaving room for people to take all of these teaching moments, both that are spoken and also shown to them, and then leaving space for them within that framework to get to that same destination, which is happy client, people that want to come back, which is what I want to ask you about next, which is, I know a lot of your business comes from repeat customers. We've talked about this on the podcast previously. Like, I think your current Google Business Profile average rating is 4.7. It's just loaded with tons of people who speak so highly of doing business with you. So with a lot of business coming from repeat customers and referrals, what do you think actually drives someone to come back to Hooks or send someone new your way?
Relationships and their experience. Because we're established. We want to take care of you. We tell you we want to take care of you. And we don't make it about something else. Of course I want people to refer people to us. Always. Who doesn't? What business doesn't? But when I'm talking to you, I'm not going to ask you, hey, Sean, I hope you like your new car. Hey, you got any friends that you'd send my way? Anybody that might want to be buying a car? Would you tell them about me? That takes all the focus off of Sean and puts it on to me. That's not right. Mm-hmm. So, little things like that, I think, make a difference. And I'll look at these things and go back to me. How would I respond if that was what somebody was doing? And I would think, in my crazy brain, I would think, well, I guess you're done with me now. You want me to go find you somebody else? So I think that repeat and referral referrals come as they want, but it all starts and ends with the customer experience. And from my position, though I may not interact with every single customer that comes in here on a daily basis, my job is to simplify things so that they can focus on those relationships and answering the questions and addressing the concerns that each customer comes with, whether it may be, Somebody who just stepped in here for the first time, someone who's here during their ownership experience to get service, or coming back for their next vehicle. We're so grateful for all the repeat and referral business that we have. And we know we have to earn it. We don't expect that. We have to earn it. That's why I talk about, I want to be the best story in the room, because that means we're doing it right. That also means that somebody might listen and want to come try doing business here if they haven't before. You have to have the right product, but the people are the most important piece of it. So developing relationships, having, longer tenure, we are happy. We're very proud that we have a low turnover rate. And when we do, we don't like it, but sometimes that's necessary for all parties included. I understand. But when you develop those relationships, you want them to be ongoing so that you know who you're coming back to. And, but everybody knows that I'm going to be here, one way or the other, I'm going to be here. So, I don't even know if I've answered the question as much as I've just rambled, but repeat and referral is got us where we are today. We're celebrating over 45 years today since our anniversary, because of the repeat and referral, because of loyalty and those things. I'm incapable of expressing my gratitude, the level of gratitude that I have for that. And it started with my grandfather and with my father and next generation. It's just, I'm humbled. I'm grateful. I just really, there aren't enough words to express my appreciation. So, because it's the reason that I'm here today. It's the reason that we have the opportunity for me and you to talk. It's the reason that I want to tell more people about this. It's that repeat and referral is our lifeblood. We conquest people all the time. We trade for different kind of cars. But the people who come in and do business with us, when we foster those relationships, because we do care, because that repeat and referral, the repeat part, most importantly, that means so much. And when I see a customer who has bought 7 Navigators in the last 8 years, or bought 4 Navigators in the last 6 years, or, I know, hey, where'd that car? It's every day. I am so grateful that I get to see a customer who's bought a car from us before. And yes, I want to grow that, but I don't want to grow it. I want to grow it because that helps our longevity. That helps our success. That means we're doing it right. We're doing something right. We're taking care of more people, and we're making that whole process that much easier and comfortable and reliable for one more person and then another person. And so, yeah, it's a huge sense of fulfillment. It's a huge metric for success. And it's something that is at the foundation of the reason I'm here today.
Yep. I really appreciate that answer because it maps to my personal experience as a car buyer. Every dealer that I've ever taken repeat business to or referred others to never asked me for that. They never, everything that you just were talking about, I never felt that ever before. They earned it. They earned it. Loved the product. But in almost every single case that I can think of where I was a repeat or somebody who referred business to a dealership, it wasn't just the product. It was how I was treated. It was how I was taken care of. That makes so much. It's what motivates people to feel like it's, to your point, human, but it's humans that are showing you how much they actually care about your business, which is really, really critical. So when you're thinking about earning trust, I want you to give me some thoughts on something, maybe just one thing in your business that is really helpful in consistently earning the trust that you would never change, you would never remove, even if it might make things easier or even more profitable to do so. Is there one thing in your business that helps you stay consistent in earning that trust?
That's a tough question.
I know.
That's a tough one. It's a tough one. I mean, in my mind, there's a bunch of things, but to put it into words, the people is the first thing. And then the honesty, it's got to be honesty and communication, honesty in your communication, this is a good idea for you. It's not a bad idea, or it's a bad idea for you, and just telling people the examples. So somebody comes in here and wants to buy, well, I just can't, this 4-wheel drive, it's just more than it's going to be gas, it's going to be this, blah, blah, blah. Why do you want a 4-wheel drive? Well, we go to Colorado a couple of times a year. Okay. Do you want to drive? So you go for 2 weeks a year to Colorado and you want a 4-wheel drive, but the other 50 weeks you're going to drive, you don't need it. And it's just going to cost you more money, right? So why wouldn't you do something different if you could get like a 2-wheel drive that's going to be better on gas mileage or whatever, easier to park, whatever fits your needs, whatever it is. And then on those 2 weeks, you find another means of transportation. I mean, you could save enough to fly. I don't know. It's not my job to advise you there, but I'm just being honest, and I've had people look at me and I've said that to a couple of people and they'd be like, that makes sense. Why? Thank you. Instead of just saying, oh, well, it's more than this. You got, and trying to talk around it. So, and honesty, there's a million ways to express the way honesty would make that difference. But, you can't earn trust without being honest, good, bad, or ugly. You have to be honest. And I mean, and not to mention that speaks to your character and all the other, words that we've talked about, but they're not just words. That's why they're repeated so much. They're not just repeated when you and I talk, they're repeated here all the time. And I think that, people hear that and people just, that's, if they don't buy into that kind of stuff, then there have been times that people don't really buy into that and they fade out one reason or another. But, I believe that honesty would be the number one thing that I'm not going to compromise. And because there's so many things that are come with that, you can have, it's the character, it's being human, it's building relationships, it's your integrity, it's having respect for others, having respect for yourself. All those things come into that. So in your honest communication would have to be, if I had to narrow it down to one thing which is very hard to do because there's a lot of things I won't compromise on. I won't compromise on that.
It's like the anchor for all of those other things.
Yeah,
if you're
really
dishonest,
is.
you forget about all the rest of it if you're dishonest.
It's a slippery slope. It's like once you break that barrier, what other ones are you going to break? So,
right.
And everything, if everything is communication, then if you're not being forthright there, then there's a slippery slope. So, because it'll work out. It will work out. I know people, there may be people in this business who, I got to do this in order to feed my family. No, you don't. If you'll be honest, it'll work out. It works out.
Yeah.
It's for the best, I believe.
I love that. I love it. I was going to ask you if there's one thing that a listener could take away from the episode about how you do business, what would you want it to be? But I think you just answered it. I think you want people to know that you're honest, and that is a foundational element to all the other things that happen when you come to Hooks to, be an opportunity for a new relationship and for business to start. And so I think that's a great place to park the episode, Kip. It's fantastic. I always love getting your insights on all of this. It's very valuable. I think one of the biggest takeaways is also that while a lot of things in the industry continue to change, the fundamentals of what we're talking about, building trust, strong relationships, those things, those fundamentals don't, like that bedrock or foundational point of anchoring all these things based on honesty is, I think that a lot of dealers can learn from. I think they should take a cue from you in a nice way and not, being humble about it, but because it's about consistency. It's about how you treat people. It's about making decisions with long-term in mind. You can't have that repeat and referral business if you're not thinking about those things. And that's clearly something that's deeply embedded in how you've done business and how you operate and how you've operated for decades. It's a great reminder for anybody that's listening or watching that doing business the right way is still one of the most powerful strategies that any business can have. So, Kip, once again, really appreciate you taking the time to share your perspective to the audience. If it sounds like Hooks would be a great place to buy a car, well, that's because of decades of intentional effort. That's because it is a great place to buy a car. It's a great place to service your car. So check them out online at hookslincoln.com. Or, hey, go in person. Fort Worth, Texas is one of the greatest cities in America.
Yeah.
As always, audience, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon right here on the Changing Lanes podcast.
Thanks.